I think the whole thrust of our public welfare system ought to be building responsibility on the part of the recipients, including personal responsibility, and encouraging them to use their welfare benefits in a way that benefits their families by focusing on the basics of food and shelter and housing and less on things that are not beneficial like alcohol or gambling or those types of vices.
That's New York State Assemblyman Andy Goodall discussing what needs to be done to stop welfare fraud. And welcome back to America's Forum. I'm Rick Blackwell, filling in for J.D. Hayworth. Welfare fraud is a growing problem across the country. From New York to Nebraska, people are receiving welfare benefits without having their identity, assets, or residency verified. And the lack of oversight is costing taxpayers millions. Now let's bring back Michael Flanagan, who obviously worked as a congressman in Illinois fighting welfare fraud. And joining us for this segment is Josh Archambault. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for Government Accountability. And Josh, welcome to America's Forum. Is welfare fraud continuing to be a major problem, or do you feel like we're reducing the amount of welfare fraud out there?
You know, I actually think we're really only looking at the tip of the iceberg. You know, there are lots of examples, very egregious ones, whether it's lottery winners who are on Medicaid or whether it's individuals stealing 3,000 food stamp cards and then buying soda and candy and reselling it to the tune of $1 million. I actually think we are underestimating the amount of fraud that we are seeing, and we want to be able to catch that fraud so we preserve resources for the truly needy going forward.
You're exactly right, Josh. We have to protect the process because it's built as a safety net for people who need it. But we can't conflate them with fraudsters, criminals, people who have behaved badly and deserve to be jailed. And in working toward them, the Obama administration has all but taken the brakes off of the Welfare to Work program and has all but renewed cash payments. As these programs grow outside of Congress's purview or the oversight and ability to watch it, I think we're going to look at more of this. And do you think that the institutions by the Attorney General or in the various states are equal to the amount of prosecutions that are going to be necessary to rein this in?
Well, I think the history on this is actually very interesting. A lot of states have focused on trying to find the bad apple providers when it comes to Medicaid or healthcare fraud. But actually one of the areas and really low-hanging fruit is enrollee fraud. And the federal government has looked at this issue, the Government Accountability Office, and that's why the Medicaid program in particular is listed as one of the most vulnerable programs for waste, abuse, and fraud. And actually Illinois led the way on this of all places. And in 2012, they passed a major reform. It was quite easy. It was very bipartisan, making sure that there's extra enhanced checks on the front end when an enrollee comes in, and equally as important, making sure that they're doing ongoing checks throughout the year to see if an individual is still eligible. And the early results are actually quite incredible. They've removed around 300,000 people in the first year of the program. In the second year, they're on pace to remove 400,000 individuals who are no longer eligible and save around $400 million every year predictably as they're going forward. And I actually think we have a handful of these examples around the country. I think in 5 or 10 years, every state will be doing what Illinois and Pennsylvania and New Hampshire have started to do. Very easy solution, save a lot of money for the taxpayers going forward.
Yeah, there certainly are some shining examples of states that are doing some excellent work in this area. Is it going to take more enforcement officers, better reform? What can we do to make sure that all 50 states are doing some of the work that Illinois is doing, for example?
Well, in many cases, it's actually tapping the private sector to do this. You know, we have, in many areas of our life, used technology to our advantage, and unfortunately, state government is really behind on this. And in many cases, state government is the one administering these programs, even if it's federally funded. So it's requiring and making sure that those state agencies have the tools they need, not by building their own systems, but going out and tapping into what private vendors are already doing. That's where the low-hanging fruit's going to be. That's where the savings are going to be so that we can sustain these programs long-term for those that truly need it.
Billions and billions of dollars at stake. Josh Archambault, thank you so much for your insight. Also want to thank Congressman Michael Flanagan, obviously, for helping us out in this first hour as well. Thank you very much, Congressman. Appreciate it. And we're coming right back with a political panel. It's straight ahead.